first meet Carl? Take a little step forward.
Yeah. You wanna go for it?
Sure. We had been developing a different project on a local California paper that was kind of just a little bit more procedural, how a local paper gets made. And a friend of ours at school actually was like, have you heard about this guy who saved California's oldest weekly paper? And it felt like a story that had a little bit more heart to it, and a more compelling central character who was going through an emotional period in his life. And so we just reached out. He had gotten quite a bit of media coverage before the pandemic for saving the paper. You know, it was kind of a story that wrote itself. Local widow saves historic paper. But the pandemic hit and the story kind of died. There were other filmmakers who had contacted him, but you know, lockdown happened, and we kind of just right place, right time, had a kind of connection over the phone. We went up and visited in Downeyville in November of 2022, and shot all of this over 10 days towards the end of 2022, and just saw Carl this past weekend. The paper's still alive. He's a little worse for wear. But yeah, we're still in relationship. He's a great guy. Yeah.
So I guess what's your kind of personal relationship like with Carl? Is he easy to get on camera, or is he? Are there any challenges?
Yeah, I think Carl really enjoyed the process the entire time that we were there, which was really important. He was just a natural, I think, in every way. Like even when I think back to that first meeting that we had in November of 2022, he was like, we were just sitting at a cafe and we were explaining like our vision for the film, and he was like, cinema verite. And so I feel like he's a writer and he's a storyteller, and I think that he really trusted us to tell his story and tell the story of the paper, and so he was a natural in every way, and even throughout the process of screening the film, he's just always been really enthusiastic about like attending screenings. He wasn't able to make it here tonight, but he was just a collaborator in every sense of the word.
Yeah. Nice. And so the scene where he's watching the old video of Frightwig, it was that planned at all, or did that kind of happen organically?
It was planned.
on our end.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if he was. I think we mentioned that we were playing something for him, but he didn't have any idea what it was.
We found some really great old concert footage of Cecilia that we kind of cut together as a sort of highlight reel, and obviously the grief plays a central role in the film, and so we're trying to figure out a sort of cathartic moment to send that home, and also showcase Cecilia like in the force that she was. Cecilia was the drummer, and Frightwig was a kind of legendary all-women's punk band in SF in the 80s. Footage is great. We fell in love with that footage, and so yeah, we shot that on the first day of production, and knew we had something really special with it, and maybe it still plays too long in the film, but it's one of those scenes that's just really hard to chop down because, it's a beautiful moment. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Questions from the audience?
How often does Carl publish his paper?
It's a weekly paper.
Is it weekly? We should have said Ted in to see this.
Go ahead.
I just maybe don't know, but I just wondering what did Carl, he was retired, or what did he do before he became a publisher?
He worked for PG&E for a while. He's a math whiz, so I never could quite understand what he was talking about. What he would tell me is what his early career was. But after PG&E, he was kind of like a freelance utilities guy, and he would travel around the world with some models that...
Electrical engineering of some sort?
Yeah. there's a lot of funny sections in the paper that show how much of a technical mind he still is. He's always kind of like giving way too advanced data reports on like the weather and the cubic feet of power running through the Yuba River, and it's like, yeah.
What are the prospects for the? Is he breaking even, or is he making a profit? Is he losing?
Yeah, we spoke to him this past weekend, and it sounds like that first year or two, I believe that he was doing all right, but and he was able to like build a little cushion for himself in terms of the paper's bank account. But I think each year, as this goes on, he's like cutting deeper into that cushion and into his savings there, and so. His vision was always to somehow turn the paper into some sort of a nonprofit and figure out a plan for how it can survive moving forward. But his struggle is just something that we see not only in Downeyville but across countries, as there are fewer local papers staying alive, and so it's definitely a fight for him, and it's tough for him to continue to do this, but. And that's really what we wanted to convey, like how much effort goes into putting the paper out and, delivering it through snowstorms and all that sort. And so, everyone in town really values the paper, and hopefully there will be a plan, moving forward. But it's just still Carl, mostly on his own now. He still has some help, but I think we're all worried about how sustainable the paper is and how sustainable local news is in general.
Do you know what he paid for the paper? Like, since they were shutting down anyways, was it kind of like...
I think it was a handshake deal between him and Don for maybe like 10 or 15 grand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's willing to give it away for free now. I don't know when he wants to do it, but he says for the right person, he'll just give it.
And he was, kind of the perfect person. He was like living off Social Security. He had the time to do it. He has like roots in the area, and so he really wanted to keep the paper alive, and it's not every town can find a Carl, and so.
Right. Did you ever get Chrome downloaded?
I doubt it. I really doubt it.
The non-Apple.
Yeah.
Was he trying to expand the paper to other nearby towns?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Yeah, he talks a little bit about that in that first scene with the former publisher and editor Don Russell. I believe he, one thing that Carl was able to do was like increase like the number of ads on the paper. He expanded the paper from, I think, what was it,
It was like 4 pages.
It was like a 4-page, and then he
yeah.
expanded it to 8 pages and got some more local advertising in there, and I think that was like that helped him those first few years, and I think he did expand to 2 or 3 more towns, but I'm not sure if it's expanded much beyond that. I know he mentions in the film like wanting to reach that Reno market. I don't think he has, but he's mostly relied on advertising.
Great. Well, what are the two of you planning to do next?
So we were both on staff at different production companies and based in San Francisco Bay Area. I work for a nonprofit production company called Citizen Film, so working on a few projects for them, and hope just the filmmaker hustle, trying to get my own projects off in my free time.
Anything you're excited about, or if you don't want to tell us.
Come on, go for it. I don't want. I believe in the
He's got
jinxing
no,
myself.
yeah, okay. I won't jinx you. There's a lot of over the last 10 years, there's been projects that I've shot that I just have never gotten the time to edit. Similar sort of vibes, rural communities that are either going through a shift in identity, a shift in economy. There's a project I shot in Brazil that I need to edit. There's a project I shot in North Carolina about the Outer Banks, which are, basically constantly putting sand on the islands just to stay fixed in their place. So that's a climate change story. But those are projects that just need editing and time. So it's the balance of having the kind of consistent staff job and making time for your own projects.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Carl.
Thank you all.
Runs
Thank
the
you.
paper
Thank you
with
so
us.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for doing that.